The day humanity confirmed we weren't alone changed everything. It's not just for our species, but for me personally, in ways I never could have imagined. I still remember the exact moment their ship appeared in Earth's orbit. The silvery vessel shimmered. Against the backdrop of stars, elegant and impossibly advanced, as chief xenolinguist at the Global Space Initiative, I was immediately summoned to the command center. Dr. Reed, we need you at the landing site. Director Chen's voice crackled through my phone. They've accepted our invitation to meet. This is happening, Marcus. My heart raced as I gathered my translation equipment. Years of theoretical work was about to be tested against actual extraterrestrial communication. The drive to the designated landing zone in the New Mexico desert felt surreal. Dust clouds, billowing behind my vehicle as I rehearsed greeting protocols. The air around the landing site crackled with anticipation. Military personnel formed a perimeter while scientists checked and rechecked their equipment. Above us, the alien vessel had dispatched a smaller craft that now descended through the atmosphere, a teardrop of liquid metal gliding effortlessly through the air. Remember, Director Chen whispered beside me, "You speak for humanity today." The craft touched down without a sound, hovering inches above the desert floor. A seam appeared along its side, widening into a doorway from which light spilled onto the sand. And then she emerged. The alien diplomat stepped forward with graceful movements. Her skin held a subtle lavender hue that seemed to shimmer in the sunlight. Though humanoid in general form, there was an undeniable otherworldliness to her features. Slightly elongated limbs, larger eyes that reflected the sky with unusual depth. She approached our delegation slowly, her head tilted slightly as she studied us. I stepped forward as planned, hands raised in the universal gesture of peace we had practiced. "Welcome to Earth," I said. Then repeated the phrase using the mathematical language we had developed for first contact. The alien diplomat raised her hand in response, mirroring my gesture. Then she turned toward me fully, and everything around us seemed to fade away. Her eyes met mine, deep violet orbs that held. Ancient wisdom, yet sparked with curiosity, something sure. Passed between us in that moment, something beyond language or science or protocol. She turned around slowly. My world just stopped. "I am Nylara," she said in perfect English, her voice melodic, yet slightly synthesized, likely through some translation device. "Emissary of Zenith 7, we have been observing your transmissions for some time." I struggled to maintain my professional composure. "I'm Dr. Marcus Reed, xenolinguist. We're honored to meet you," as we began the formal introductions. I couldn't shake the strange connection I felt. Each time her gaze met mine, something resonated within me, recognition perhaps, though that was scientifically impossible. The following hours passed in a blur of diplomatic exchanges. Nylara explained her people, the Zenithians, had been studying humanity for decades, learning our languages and customs before making contact. They sought peaceful exchange of knowledge, and possibly trade. Throughout the initial meeting, I found myself captivated not just by the historic significance, but by Nylara herself, the subtle expressions crossing her features, the graceful movements of her hands as she spoke, the thoughtful pauses before she answered difficult questions. When Director Chen announced a short recess, Nylara approached me directly. "You understand communication differently than the others," she observed, her voice softer now that we spoke privately. "You listen for what remains unsaid." "That's the heart of language," I replied, surprised by her insight. "Not just words, but intention." A smile curved her lips, revealing an unexpected warmth. "Perhaps, Dr. Reed, you and I will find much to discuss in the days ahead." I nodded, knowing with absolute certainty that nothing in my life would ever be the same again. The weeks following first contact transformed the Global Space Initiative headquarters into an international hub of activity. Scientists from every discipline crowded the newly established Zenith Wing, all eager to learn from our visitors. At the center of it all, Nylara and I worked tirelessly on developing a comprehensive translation system between our worlds. "Your language contains many contradictions," Nylara noted one evening, as we sat surrounded by linguistic databases. The soft glow of monitors illuminated her features in the dimly lit translation lab. Words that mean their opposite depending on context. I smiled, rubbing my tired eyes. That's what makes human languages beautiful. They're messy and illogical, just like we are. We have a similar concept on Zenith 7, she replied, her fingers gracefully manipulating the holographic interface between us. We call it duamira, the truth that exists in opposites. These moments of connection happened more frequently as we worked together. Each day revealed new parallels between our seemingly different species. Nylar explained how Zenithian culture valued harmony and balance, while I shared humanity's complex history of conflict and creation. Your music fascinates me, she confessed one day, after I had introduced her to Earth's classical compositions, the way emotion translates through sound. It's not unlike our sonic paintings that evening. She showed me recordings of Zenithian art, swirling harmonics that created vivid mental images. We sat closer than protocol, probably allowed, her lavender skin occasionally brushing against mine as she explained the cultural significance of each piece. This one speaks of celestial journeys, she whispered, her voice taking on a melodic quality that made my heart race. The longing for connection across vast distances. Her eyes met mine, and I wondered if she was still talking about the music. Director Chen noticed our growing closeness during the next diplomatic briefing. His concerned glance when Nylara chose the seat beside mine wasn't subtle. Later, he pulled me aside. Marcus, I need you objective, he cautioned. The Zenithian delegation is our first priority. Whatever. Friendship you're developing with their emissary needs to remain professional. I nodded, though something inside me rebelled at the warning. That night, I couldn't sleep. Thoughts of violet eyes and philosophical conversations keeping me awake until dawn. The breakthrough came unexpectedly during our third week of collaboration. While analyzing linguistic patterns, Nilara and I simultaneously identified a mathematical constant that appeared in both our communication systems. It's beautiful, she whispered, her face illuminated by the discovery on our screens. The same underlying pattern across galaxies? In my excitement, I reached for her hand without thinking. Instead of pulling away, her fingers intertwined with mine. The touch sent an electric current through my body, her skin cooler than human temperature, but incredibly soft. Marcus, she said quietly, using my first name for the first time. On my world, we believe that some souls recognize each other across any distance. My breath caught as she leaned closer. That sounds similar to what some humans call destiny. Is that what this is? She asked, her free hand gently touching my face. The laboratory around us seemed to fade away, the universe narrowing to just the two of us. I don't know, I admitted, heart pounding. But I'd like to find out. When she kissed me, her lips were cool against mine. But the sensation was like nothing I'd ever experienced, like touching something ancient and new simultaneously. The kiss deepened, tentative at first, then with growing certainty. As we slowly drew apart, a soft alarm sounded on her communication device. Reality crashed back. We were in a government facility, representatives of different worlds. The delegation is requesting my presence, she said, reluctance clear in her voice. I nodded, still stunned by what had happened between us. Will you come back afterward? Nylara's smile held both promise and hesitation. Some things transcend diplomatic protocols, don't they? After she left, I sat alone in the lab, fingers tracing my lips where hers had been. Whatever was happening between us would complicate everything, the negotiations. Our professional responsibilities, possibly even interstellar relations. Yet, as I looked at the mathematical constant we'd discovered together, I couldn't help feeling that perhaps this connection was written into the very fabric of our universe, waiting to be found. The diplomatic summit was reaching its critical phase. Representatives from 17 nations gathered daily with the Zenithian delegation, drafting the framework for humanity's first interstellar alliance. What had begun as cautious exchanges had evolved into genuine collaboration, except for one faction. General Williams of the United Defense Coalition remained openly suspicious of our visitors. They're offering technology centuries beyond our capabilities, he argued during a particularly tense meeting. What exactly do they want in return? Across the room, I watched Nylara maintain her diplomatic composure. though I'd learned to recognize the subtle tightening around her eyes when she felt challenged. The connection between us had deepened over the past weeks, a professional partnership evolving into something neither of us had expected. We found moments together away from scrutiny, walking the perimeter of the facility under the pretense of discussing cultural protocols, working late in the translation lab after others had left, even once sneaking away to watch a desert sunrise from a nearby ridge. "Your sun is younger than ours," Nylara had whispered, her head resting against my shoulder as golden light spilled across the landscape. "More vibrant? Is that why you came here?" I asked, my arm wrapped around her slender waist, still amazed by the feeling of her against me. Scientific curiosity? She turned to face me, those violet eyes searching mine. "We came seeking allies, Marcus. The galaxy is vast, but not always welcoming. Some civilizations feared difference rather than embracing it. The implications settled heavily between us." "Like General Williams," I murmured. "And like the High Council of Zenith," she admitted. "Not all my people believe this alliance is wise. Some fear ... contamination." Her fingers traced my jawline with tender curiosity. They would certainly not approve of this, that morning. As sunlight painted her lavender skin with golden hues, we surrendered to the feelings we'd been fighting. Her body against mine was both alien and familiar, cooler to the touch, yet responding with unmistakable desire. We explored each other with reverent wonder, discovering differences and similarities in equal measure. When we finally came together completely, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath around us. Afterward, wrapped in shared warmth, Nylara whispered ancient Zenithian poetry against my skin, words about stars finding each other across cosmic darkness. The warning came that very evening. Ambassador Thalen, the elder Zenithian diplomat, requested Nylara's presence immediately upon our return to the facility. "They know," she whispered, her usual confidence faltering. "Someone must have seen us leave together." My stomach tightened with dread. What will happen? "The protocols are clear. I would be recalled, replaced with someone who hasn't formed ... attachments." Her voice broke slightly on the last word. That night I paced my quarters anxiously until a soft knock came at my door. Nylara stood there, her expression unreadable. "Ambassador Thalen has given me a choice," she said as I pulled her inside. "I can return to Zenith immediately, or I can remain as emissary, but with conditions." "What conditions?" I asked, dreading the answer. "No unauthorized contact with humans, especially you." Her fingers squeezed mine. "He believes our connection compromises my ability to represent Zenith objectively." I pulled her close, breathing in her ethereal scent. "And what do you believe?" "I believe that finding you across galaxies cannot be mere coincidence," she whispered against my neck. "But I also believe in my mission. My people need this alliance." We held each other in silence, caught between worlds and duties, knowing that whatever path we chose would require sacrifice. "There's more," Nylara finally said, drawing back to meet my gaze. "General Williams has been communicating with a faction on Zenith, those who oppose the alliance. If they succeed ... then everything falls apart." I finished for her, understanding the gravity of our situation. We had stumbled into something far larger than our personal feelings. As morning approached, we made a decision. We would distance ourselves publicly while working secretly to save the alliance that both our worlds needed. What existed between us would have to wait. "In my culture," Nylara said as dawn approached, her form silhouetted against my window, "we believe that souls who are meant to find each other will always have another chance." I pulled her back for one last embrace, memorizing the feeling of her in my arms. "Then this isn't goodbye," I whispered. "Just a pause between chapters." The sadness in her smile nearly broke me. "A pause," she agreed, "between stars." The tension at the Global Space Initiative had become palpable. General Williams and his faction had launched a public campaign questioning the Xanathians' intentions. While Ambassador Thalen seemed increasingly withdrawn during negotiations, Nylara and I maintained our professional distance. Our interactions limited to formal meetings where others were present. The proposed technology exchange is too one-sided. General Williams announced during the morning briefing, his voice carrying authority that made others hesitate to challenge him. They get access to our planetary resources while offering us advancements we can't even verify. I watched Nylara across the conference table, noting how she maintained perfect diplomatic composure despite the barely veiled accusations. Only I could recognize the subtle signs of her frustration, the slight tension in her shoulders, the way her fingers tapped a specific rhythm when she was restraining herself. Zenith 7 has no interest in Earth's resources, General, she replied evenly. Our proposal offers medical technology that would eliminate several human diseases and propulsion systems that would advance your space exploration capabilities by centuries. Exactly my point, Williams countered. Why would an advanced civilization give us such advantages without significant benefit to themselves? The room fell silent, the question hanging in the air. Ambassador Thalen shifted uncomfortably, and I realized with sudden clarity that the Zenithians were hiding something not sinister, perhaps but significant. That evening, I found a cryptic message on my personal terminal, Observatory, midnight. Critical information, though unsigned. I recognized the particular phrasing as Nylara's. The observatory sat on the facility's roof, normally used for astronomical research. When I arrived, the dome was dark, except for the soft glow of emergency lighting. Nylara emerged from the shadows, her lavender skin almost luminous in the darkness. "We haven't much time," she said, foregoing any greeting. A Zenithian scout ship detected an approaching vessel from the Draken Collective. Draken. The name was unfamiliar. A militaristic species that has opposed Zenithian expansion for centuries, she explained quickly. They've been monitoring our contact with Earth. They're coming to ... intervene. The gravity of her words settled heavily between us. You're saying Earth is about to be caught in an interstellar conflict we know nothing about? This is what Ambassador Thalen has been concealing, Nylara confirmed, moving closer until I could feel the coolness radiating from her skin. The alliance we're proposing isn't just for mutual benefit, it's for mutual protection. I processed this revelation, pieces falling into place. That's why William's opposition is so dangerous. He's unknowingly playing into the Dracon's strategy. Exactly. Her fingers found mine in the darkness, the first time we'd touched in weeks. I wasn't supposed to tell you. I couldn't let Earth remain ignorant of the real threat. The starlight filtering through the observatory dome illuminated her features, the concern in her eyes, the determination in her expression. Despite everything, my heart raced at her proximity. "What can we do?" I asked. "I have censored data proving the Dracon approach. If we can convince General Williams of the imminent threat, ... he'll never believe it coming from you," I finished her thought. "But he might listen to me." We spent hours formulating a plan, huddled together over star charts and data projections. As the night deepened, our focus occasionally wavered, awareness of each other overwhelming our strategic discussions. "I've missed you," I admitted during one such moment. My hand brushing her cheek, Nylara leaned into my touch, eyes closing briefly. "The separation has been ... difficult. On Zenith 7, once a connection forms, it's physically painful to sever. For humans too," I whispered, drawing her closer. "Just not so literally." When our lips finally met, weeks of longing and restraint dissolved. The kiss deepened with urgent passion, her cool fingers sliding beneath my shirt as mine tangled in her silvery hair. We moved together with growing intensity, the universe beyond our concerns momentarily forgotten. Later, wrapped in each other's arms beneath the dome of stars, Nylar traced patterns on my chest while explaining. Zenithian beliefs about cosmic connections, our scientists have identified a quantum entanglement that sometimes occurs between sentient beings, she murmured. When particles that have never met somehow share the same resonance, soulmates, I translated, kissing her forehead. Some Earth cultures have similar beliefs. Then perhaps our worlds aren't so different after. Dawn approached too quickly, bringing with it the weight of responsibility. We separated reluctantly, knowing what needed to be done. "If we succeed," Nylara said at the observatory door, her hand lingering on mine, there might be a place for us in this new alliance. And if we fail, I couldn't help asking. Her violet eyes held mine with solemn intensity. Then at least we found each other, even if just for a moment in cosmic time. With renewed purpose, we returned to our separate quarters, preparing to confront not just General Williams, but the fate of two worlds hanging in precarious balance. The emergency meeting convened at dawn, military personnel and scientists crowding the command center as I presented the evidence Nylara had provided. General Williams' face remained impassive as I explained the approaching Draken vessel and its implications. Even if this threat is real, he countered after I finished, it only confirms my point. Earth is being dragged into an interstellar conflict we have no stake in. Ambassador Thalen rose slowly, his aged features solemn. The Dracons would not distinguish between Zenithians and humans, General. They oppose any civilization that might challenge their dominance. Your world has been on their observation list since your first radio transmissions. The room erupted in heated discussion. Through the chaos, my eyes found Nylara, who gave me an almost imperceptible nod of encouragement. Director Chen silenced the room with a sharp command. We need a unified response, not arguments. Dr. Reed, what do the Zenithians propose? All attention turned to me. A joint defensive position, I explained. Zenithian technology combined with Earth's orbital systems could create a shield that would discourage Draken aggression. And afterward, General Williams pressed. Once this threat passes, we're still bound to this alliance. The alliance was never meant to be temporary, Nylar interjected, stepping forward. What exists between our worlds is exactly what the Dracons fear, the beginning of something. Greater than individual planets, the debate continued for hours. But the approaching Draken vessel forced a decision. By nightfall, Earth's military leaders had grudgingly agreed to the Joint Defense Protocol. Zenithian engineers worked alongside human technicians to integrate their advanced systems with our satellite network. In the midst of preparations, Nylara and I found a moment alone in the auxiliary control room. If this works, I said quietly, watching her calibrate the defense parameters, what happens next for us? Her fingers paused over the controls. The High Council will send more diplomats, establish permanent embassies. Cultural exchange will begin in earnest. That's not what I meant, I said, gently turning her to face me. The vulnerability in her expression took my breath away. I've requested assignment to the permanent Earth embassy, she admitted. But there are top complications, such as Zenithian biology, she explained hesitantly. Our physiology isn't designed for prolonged exposure to Earth's environment without adaptations. I would need regular returns to Xena 7 or ... double quotes, she hesitated. Or, I prompted. There are experimental procedures that could adapt my systems permanently to Earth conditions, but they're irreversible. I could never return home for more than brief visits. The magnitude of her potential sacrifice stunned me. Before I could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. The Draken vessel had entered Earth's orbit. The next 12 hours became a blur of crisis management. The Joint Defense System activated successfully, creating a protective barrier that the Draken ship tested repeatedly. Communications from their vessel conveyed threats, then demands, and finally, as their weapons proved ineffective against our combined technology, reluctant withdrawal. When the immediate danger passed, the atmosphere at the facility transformed. Humans and Zenithians celebrated together, previous suspicions forgotten in the euphoria of shared victory. Even General Williams acknowledged the value of the alliance, though his congratulations came grudgingly. In the aftermath, as diplomatic formalities resumed with renewed purpose, I found myself standing beside Ambassador Thalen on the observation deck, watching Zenithian shuttles prepare for departure. She's requested permanent Earth assignment, the elder diplomat said, without preamble. I know, I replied, unsure of his position on the matter. The adaptation procedure she's considering is dangerous, he continued. Some have not survived it, but more concerning is what she would be giving up. Her connection to her home world, her cultural identity. I would never ask her to make such a sacrifice, I said firmly. The ambassador's ancient eyes studied me. Perhaps that is precisely why she wishes to make it. Later that evening, as the facility quieted, I found Nilara in the translation lab, where our connection had first deepened. She stood before the star map display, the glowing points of light illuminating her features. "My shuttle leaves tomorrow," she said without turning. "The High Council requires my report in person." I moved beside her, following her gaze to where Earth and Zenith 7 glowed among countless other worlds. "Will you come back?" "That depends," she said softly, finally facing me. On what I have to come back to, the question hung between us, unspoken but understood. What future could exist for two beings from different worlds? What sacrifices would be justified? I took her hands in mine, feeling the now familiar coolness of her skin against my warmth. "I've been thinking about quantum entanglement," I said. "How particles remain connected regardless of distance." A small smile curved her lips. "A romantic interpretation of physics, Dr. Reed." "Maybe," I conceded. "Or maybe it's the universe telling us something important about connection." Drawing her closer, I continued, "I don't want you to choose between worlds, Nylar. The adaptation procedure, the risk, it's too much to ask. It's not your choice to make," she reminded me gently. "No, but perhaps there's another way." I explained my proposal that I would join the first human delegation to Zenith 7, beginning research on adaptations that could allow humans to visit her world just as Zenithians visited ours, a bridge between planets built from both sides. It would mean years of work, I admitted. Long separations, challenges we can't even anticipate. But if this connection between us is what I believe it is, ... double quotes, worth crossing galaxies for? She finished, violet eyes shining with emotion. When morning came, we stood together at the landing site where we had first met. The Zenithian delegation prepared to board their vessel, while a small group of humans, myself included, loaded equipment onto a separate shuttle. Director Chen approached, extending his hand to Nylar. "Safe journey, emissary. We look forward to continuing our work together. The journey has only just begun," she replied, her formal diplomat smile transforming into something more genuine as her eyes met mine. As the ships rose into the clear blue sky, I watched Earth growing smaller beneath us. Ahead lay unknown challenges, a distant world, and an uncertain future. But beside me sat Nylara, her hand in mine as stars streaked past our viewport. "In Zenithian culture," she said softly, "we have a saying, the universe conspires to unite what belongs together." I smiled, thinking of all the impossible coincidences that had brought us to this moment. "I'm starting to believe your culture might be right about that." The ship accelerated toward the stars, carrying us toward new horizons neither of us could have imagined alone.